Strap in. This is going to be a very long video indeed. I am going about the form guide of from about 15th onwards down to 24th. I think that's about where I think is where people could get dragged into this relegation crap. But straight to the things. Let's talk about it. Hello and welcome to this video. If you could like, share and subscribe to the channel, much appreciate it. Liking helps the algorithm, sharing gets in front of people's faces, and subscribing lets me know you like the channel. Hit that notification bell to let you know when videos go live. And also, if you want to become a member, it's $4.99 a month. Every little helps. It goes into helping the channel. I've got SWFC football there. There's driving in America, driving in Europe, and just general talking videos as well. So somebody in my comment section said, could you do a video on the form guide from about mid-table? Now I am doing that, but I'm not going from about mid-table because I think mid-table, most people in mid-table are okay. I'm just trying to find the comment now. Because I have replied to it. I said it was a fantastic idea. There it is. Killy Hilly 6113. 2 days ago, can you do a form guide, Jake, from about October-ish? Our form guide show that we are above all the other in the relegation crap. QPR just behind us. I can. I am doing that. That is what I'm doing. I think this is a cracking idea. It's taken me a couple of days to do so, to set this up, to get it all in play. We're going to do green, something with a green thing, so we'll see about this. So hopefully this all works. So here is your current table. On the right is, I can see all the teams from October's results. That's Birmingham at a minute, but we're going to start QPR because that's where it is in my list. I'll show you that in a minute. So look at the bottom from 24th to about 15th. 19, 29, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, and 38. A lot of red there in a lot of these things. A lot of teams are not consistent enough either. And it's interesting. But here's the other interesting thing. This is from Transfer Marketplace. Neil Warnock gets sacked on the 21st. Darren Moore comes in. October 4th. Muniz goes. Used to go when Rooney comes in. Gary Rowett goes on the 18th. Ainsworth goes on the 28th. Pearson is gone. Joe Edwards comes in as manager at Millwall. Liam Manning comes in. Matt Taylor leaves Rotherham. Michael Duff leaves Swansea. Tony Mowbray leaves Sunderland. Alex Neil leaves Stoke. Liam Richardson comes in for Matt Taylor. Stephen Schumacher comes in for Alex Neil. Wayne Rooney leaves. And again, see Schumacher coming in. That means Plymouth, no manager. Wayne Rooney leaves again. Luke Williams comes in for the Swansea job. After Michael Duff going. Ian Forster comes in at Plymouth. Tony Mowbray comes in at Birmingham. John Worthner comes in for Darren Moore. Thompson goes and Eustace gets the job there. Andre Venner gets the job at Huddersfield. Look at how many teams here that are in the relegation trap who have been sacked the manager. The manager's gone. They've gone in a different direction. And that says a lot. Some of them twice in one season, which ain't good. So here's your form guide. We've got QPR, we've got Rotherham, we've got Wednesday, we've got Huddersfield, we've got Stoke, we've got Millwall, we've got Swansea, we've got Blackburn, we've got Plymouth, and we've got Birmingham. Right, I'm going to go through this in games. So this is going from the 4th of October. So we'll start with QPR. QPR, 4th of October, they lose to Leeds, they lose to Blackburn Rovers, they lose to Huddersfield, they lose to West Brom, and they lose to Leicester. All of October are losses, and let's just have a look when their manager went. October 28th. So 28th, their manager goes, right? They get a new manager in. So they've lost all of October. They go into November, draw, back-to-back draw, which is good. Then it's a loss. It's a loss. Let me just make sure I'm right. Loss. Yep. The loss. And then 28th, they get a win, which changes their fortunes a little bit. They go on a bit of a winning streak here, though. It's going into December. Win. They get 3 back-to-back wins, and then they get a draw again. Then they go on another losing streak. Loss. But look at the team. Millwall. Us. Southampton, you can say, yeah. Plymouth, they get a draw there. But they go back-to-back losses again in December. All those losses, 3 back-to-back losses, which is not what you're needing. Get to the end of December, they get a draw. They stop the rot for a little bit. Go into January, they lose. We're not doing FA Cup. They lose again. That back-to-back losses. They get a win at Millwall. Remember, Millwall are in this position that they're in. They are getting close to being dragged into it. They get a draw versus Huddersfield. And I believe that's when their new manager, Darren Moore, gets sacked on the 29th. So they just beaten and sacked Darren Moore. Oh, wrong page. You go into... They get a draw there. And then they go on back-to-back wins again. So 22nd, win. You get a draw, you get a win, draw, and then it's a loss here, and it's a win here. But look at it; it's very inconsistent. What the consistent thing is the losses. And granted, people go, "That's not how you spell lost." I know this now. I'm not going to change it now. Kind of thing. But look at what's consistent. The consistent back-to-back losses. They have a few games where they go back-to-back winning, and it's back-to-back losses. And then the odd draw in there. So that's QPR. Let's go have a look at Rotherham. Start to go same. So 13th of November. So remember the date, 13th of November. When we're going into this. Rotherham go 4th of October. So it's a loss. It's a draw. They win a game versus Coventry. It's a loss versus us. And it's a draw. Now, remember, I believe it was near November time they lose their manager. So we'll have a look at that in a moment. Then they get a draw. Then it's another back-to-back draw. Then it's a 5-0 thrashing. And I think that's the game that their manager gets sacked on. I believe it's the 11th. So let's just have a look. Where is he? Matt Taylor, 13th. Yep. So the 5-0 thrashing was the final straw for them to get rid of him. So he's lost 5-0. He got a draw though. Got a draw there on the 24th. And then it's a loss again. It's another smashing on the 28th. Loss. You start the December with a draw, which is fantastic for them. Then it's loss. Back-to-back losses in a row. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 back-to-back losses in a row. And then they do something weird. They beat Middlesbrough, win. And then it back to a draw, back-to-back draws versus Sunderland and Blackburn Rovers. And then there's a loss in there. We don't count the FA Cup game, but it's a loss to Stoke City. It's a draw. And then it's just back-to-back losses from there, from the 3rd. And when did their new manager come into charge? Check Matt Taylor. Glenn Richard came in on the 11th of December. So he came in around about here. And you only saw a bit of an upturn there and there. Rotherham are pretty much down when you look at the table. They're down. They're gone. But look at that. Back-to-back losses. That's not what you want. Let's go on to us. So, as is, October goes as follows. West Brom, loss. Then That was Sicko's last game. We went into the transfer. We went into the Huddersfield game going against Darren Moore, who just got a job there as well, with a draw. So draw. We lost again. So 2 back-to-back losses there. And these were the first games where Daniel was in charge. So Watford, Plymouth, and then again, Rotherham, we got the win. We lose to Bristol. We lose to... we get back-to-back losses on the bounce. So 3 back-to-back losses is not what you want. A 1, a 4, and a 2-1. We then start the rot a little bit. We get a draw versus Leicester, which no one saw. And we have from this, we have an okay period where we go back-to-back wins, Stoke and Blackburn. And then we lose to Norwich in a way that just bad. And then we won at QPR at home. We lose to Cardiff and Coventry back-to-back, 2-1 and 2-0. We then get back-to-back wins with a win versus Preston and a win versus Hull, which no one saw doing. And then it's back to, we're not counting the FA Cup game. Then it's a 4-0 thrashing and a 2-1 thrashing. Bear in mind, top of the form guide, second in the form guide when it came to it. So back-to-back losses. We get a draw. We're not counting FA Cup. We get a draw versus Watford. We get absolutely smashed by Huddersfield Town while they got their caretaker manager in, because Darren Moore was sacked just before the game. So it was a little bit of an upheaval. And then we won. And then where is it? So there we lost. Don't count that. We beat Birmingham City 2-0. Good. We then lost to Leicester and we won at Millwall. Now, you look at ours, are they very consistent? We either have back-to-back wins or we have back-to-back losses. The only problem with ours, there isn't a lot of draws. I can count 1, 2, 3 draws. Where you look at, say, a Rotherham, there's a lot of losses and a couple of draws. We either lose or we win. That's how we basically do it. And I'm shut these ones down that I've done. So let's go to Huddersfield Town then. Huddersfield Town, I think 3rd of October. I need to check this now. 21st of September, they get rid of Neil Warnock. Darren Moore comes in. So Darren Moore's in place, and he starts off with a loss to Birmingham. It's a draw when we sack our manager that we sacking our manager. They then win at QPR. Interesting that they win at QPR now. They lose Cardiff City and Leeds. So back-to-back losses there. They get a draw versus Watford. They lose to Hull. They draw again to Southampton. Cracking draw. They get a win versus Sunderland. Now, they're getting wins of games that you're not expecting them to win. But if you look here, there's a lot of draws in the Huddersfield camp. They go back-to-back draws in versus Swansea and Bristol City. They then lose to Preston North End. They get another draw versus Millwall, which is back-to-back draw. And then they lose again to Norwich City. And then they win. They win versus Blackburn Rovers 3-0. They're thinking they're going to get it back again. But then they go back to losses versus Middlesbrough. And again, Leicester. It's Leicester. You're gonna have that. They get a draw versus Plymouth. They get a draw versus Blackburn Rovers. They get back-to-back draws here. And this QPR game is the one that gets Darren Moore the sack. He basically gets a last-minute... I think QPR got a last-minute equaliser in that, if I remember correctly, to snatch the draw. Then they start the road with the caretaker manager, of course, a 4-0 win versus us. They lose to Southampton, but put a good effort up. They beat Sunderland. And then they lose in the 95th minute, I believe, against Hull. Now, they draw a lot. They draw a lot then. But again, it's another team that changed manager. Let's go with Stoke. Stoke City. Let's have a look when Stoke changed their manager, because theirs was interesting. Alex Neil, 10th of December, and Schumacher came in the 19th. So he's hired and sacked. So 19th. So let's go with that. So Stoke. Don't go with a 1-0 loss to Southampton. A 2-0 loss to Leicester. Back-to-back top 2 teams. You don't want that. They get a back-to-back win, though, versus Sunderland and Leeds. And they get a win versus Middlesbrough. So 3 wins on the bounce, which is you're thinking, okay, that's okay. That's doable. Then it's 2 draws back-to-back Coventry and Cardiff. But then after that, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4 losses on the bounce. And that's Stoke. That's QPR. Stoke, QPR, Plymouth. Ironically, Plymouth on the 2nd. And that changes a lot of stuff. And us on the 9th. They get a draw versus Stoke. Versus Swansea, sorry. They get another draw versus Millwall. Now, remember, Steven Schumacher's in charge from the 19th of December there. So the 19th of December is when he gets in charge of Stoke City. Roughly. So from the 12th, draw. They beat Birmingham, which is a good result. Another draw. If back-to-back draws there, they win versus Rotherham. And you're thinking, okay, you got to win versus Rotherham. There, sorry. And then look at from the 20th of January. Loss. That 5. 5-1. 4. Sorry, 4. And their losses are to Birmingham, Sunderland, Leicester, Blackburn Rovers. And then they need to win something. They get a win at QPR, but then the rock gone again. They can't seem to get that consistency wins. It's either they lose or they draw. Their wins are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 wins. And again, another set of teams who had changed the manager. Nearly everybody in this list had changed their manager. That's Stoke. Let's look at Millwall. So Millwall, let's have a look at when they changed manager. Gary Rowett, 18th of October. Their new man comes in Joe Edwards, 5th of November. So 5th of November, 18th. So make a note of that. So they go into October with a win. Back-to-back draws. Not bad. They sack. Remember, I think it was the 18th. Yep, 18th. They sack him here. So during the international break. So back-to-back draws, and then they lose. They draw. So win, draw, lose. Another draw, and then they lose again, and then they get a win versus us. A 4-0 thrashing at home. But they can't manage to keep that going. It's back-to-back losses after that. 3-0 and 3-1. So they get banked there. They get a draw versus Sunderland. It seems like everyone seems to get a draw versus Sunderland. And we'll have a look at that in a minute. Let's have a look, actually. Sunderland. 18th of December, he goes... Tony Mowbray goes in December. So 4th of December, he goes after that game. So after that game, they changed managers again. So what was it? It was a draw. And then it's, what? Back-to-back losses. Cardiff and Leicester. It's back-to-back draws. Huddersfield and Stoke. Millwall get a much-needed win versus QPR. And they get that to put them on a run. So it QPR 2-0, Norwich 1-0, and then they beat Bristol City 1-0. That's a good keeping that going. We ignore the FA Cup, like we said. But then it's a loss to Middlesbrough. It's a loss to Middlesbrough. 1-1-1 loss. Loss there. I think I put the FA Cup tie in here. I didn't mean to. So ignore that. It's a loss to Middlesbrough. They lose to Middlesbrough 3-1. They get a win versus QPR. I don't know why that's not in. Might be from 1 QPR. They lose to QPR 2. No, I'm wrong. So it's back-to-back losses. Yeah. Loss. I'm thinking QPR. So it's Millwall. It's back-to-back thing, and then they get a draw here versus Preston North End. And then look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 back-to-back losses. Hull, Coventry, Ipswich, and us. And how many times they won? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 wins. And that Millwall situation, they changed their manager, remember, and I still don't understand this one. You could get Gary Rowett 18th, and then 5th in November, they've got the new guy in. I still don't understand that. We've got Swansea City. So Swansea are... You're getting to the point where Swansea, Blackburn, and Plymouth are the ones where you're looking at maybe not be dragged into it, but you never know. So Swansea's here in 18th. 17th Plymouth, 16th Blackburn, and 15th Birmingham. So these are the ones that could get dragged into it, but I don't think they will. But who knows? You never know. But let's have a look at the Swansea situation. So they start off with back-to-back wins. Norwich City and Plymouth. They lose to Leicester, and they go back-to-back losses against Leicester and Watford. They get a win versus Blackburn Rovers there. When does Duff get sacked? Let's have a look. Michael Duff, 4th of December. So we've got to look around 4th of December. Draw versus Sunderland. Lose to Ipswich. Draw versus Hull. Lose to Leeds. Draw versus Huddersfield. A win versus Rotherham on the 9th of December. Now, remember that I said Michael Duff, 4th of December. They win a game after Duff gone. After Duff gone, they win a game. It's draw, and then it's a loss again. It's a win again versus Preston. And then it's 5-0 thrashing versus Swansea. Versus Southampton, sorry. They draw versus Coventry. They get a win versus West Brom. They get FA Cup. They get a draw versus Birmingham. And then look at this. 1, 2, 3. 3 back-to-back losses. Win Southampton. FA Cup. Leicester. Again, but look at these teams who have played Southampton, Leicester, back-to-back. We've done it. A lot of teams are playing these teams back-to-back. They get a... Swansea then lose to Plymouth. And then they get a win versus Hull. And it's back-to-back losses again. 4-0, 2-1. And again, look, Leeds, Ipswich. It's the bigger teams who have just come down. We are nearly done. We are nearly done. Let's go Blackburn Rover, where they've been interesting. So they start theirs off with a loss to... They start theirs off with a loss to Blackburn. A loss to Leicester. A loss to Coventry. Wait, what? Loss. Don't win. Loss. That should be loss. Anyway, they get a win here. So they go 2 back-to-back wins. Blackburn versus QPR and Blackburn versus Cardiff City. They get 3 back-to-back wins, actually. Oh, no, this is the one where it doesn't have the October on. That's right. So I couldn't get it in. So, yeah, they start with 2 back-to-back losses, and then they go on a winning streak, 3 games. And then they lose to Swansea. This is why it's going to be all out of whack. Don't count Carabao Cup. They get a good win versus Norwich. They lose to Preston. They beat Stoke. They beat Birmingham, which is good. But then it's back-to-back losses again. In a back-to-back loss to us, a loss to Leeds. And then they beat Bristol City. And then look at that. 3 losses on the bounce. Southampton. Again. People seem to be getting Southampton. They started these losses. Watford. Huddersfield. Again, they really should have probably won. Blackburn. And it's what? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 losses on the bounce. Now, their manager only recently went the 5th. And this is going into the transfer window, where they had a chaotic transfer window again. They get a draw versus Rotherham. Not looking at the cup. They lose to Blackburn Rovers. They get a draw versus Huddersfield Town. Not looking at the FA Cup. They lose to QPR. They beat Blackburn Rovers. So that's when the manager change happened. So just changed manager. They lose versus Birmingham. And then it recently been back-to-back draws. What you're noticing is a lot of teams either go on a good winning run or they lose a lot. There's not many teams that are drawing a lot in this. So let's go with Plymouth. Plymouth, who came up, started well. They go with a 2-0 loss to Millwall. They go with a 2-0 loss to Millwall. That should be a 2-0. That should be a loss as well. So it's loss, draw versus Plymouth. A win versus us when we just got a new manager in. Lose to Ipswich. The draw versus Middlesbrough. It's a loss versus... and let's have a look when left. 19th of December, remember. They get new manager in... 5th of Jan. So remember, 19th is where it changes. Where we are. Lost to Leeds. They beat Plymouth. They beat Sunderland. They lose again to Coventry. They beat Stoke. And I think that's where you're thinking, what's going on here? They lose to Leicester. A good draw versus QPR. A 3-2 win versus Plymouth. And versus Rotherham. Okay, though. That's when he leaves. His last game is a 3-2 win versus Rotherham. And then it back-to-back draws with Birmingham and Cardiff. They lose to Southampton. One of the only teams not to get absolutely battered as well. Back-to-back draw versus Plymouth and Huddersfield. Their new man's in on the 5th of Jan. They go on back-to-back wins. They get a win here. So back-to-back draws there and there. They get a win versus Cardiff. They get a win versus Swansea. They lose heavily to Sunderland. And they lose. They get a draw versus Cardiff. Versus Coventry. Sorry. Lose versus Leeds. Lose versus West Brom last night. And they are the ones who I think who could get very much dragged into this. Them and Swansea are the ones that I think can get dragged into the relegation crap. I don't think Blackburn and Birmingham will. And And let's just go with the last team, which is Birmingham. Let's have a look at when they sacked their manager, which, again, a mistake, 9th of October. So he gets a 4-1 win versus Huddersfield, a 3-1 win versus West Brom. They lose to Middlesbrough. They lose to Hull. They get a win versus Southampton. When do they hire Wayne Rooney? Wayne Rooney hired when? 9th of October. And when do again? Wayne Rooney. 2nd of Jan. So it's a while to get. Right. Anyway, where was that? 1 loss. 1 versus Southampton. 1. These are put a draw. No, it's a win. Loss. I think I've seen. So it's a loss and then it's a draw. So they then lose to Sunderland. They beat us. They lose to Blackburn Rovers. They get a draw versus Rotherham. They lose to Coventry. They beat Cardiff. They lose to Leicester. They get a draw versus Plymouth. They get a 3-1 loss at Stoke. Draw again versus Bristol. Getting into the start of the thing. They lose to Leeds. And then he goes on. He goes after that. 2nd of October, he leaves. They bring in Tony Mowbray. They get a draw versus Swansea. They get a win versus Stoke. They lose Cardiff. They lose to West Brom. They lose to us. And then they get a win versus Blackburn Rovers. A win versus Sunderland. And they get a win versus Sunderland. But as of right now, Tony Mowbray's not there. He's left you. So you look at this table here. I think it's from possibly Plymouth 17th to 21st to 23rd even who go down. So I think Rotherham are gone. We could get out of this. It's going to be interesting to see what happened to the end of this season. This was a long video. I apologise if it's too long and you struggled to go through it. I've struggled to a little bit to do it, but I tried my best to just try and understand it. It gives you an idea of where we're looking and who's in what position, and it's gonna be a hard slog. It's gonna be a very hard slog. You look at the matches that are coming up next as well. Norwich, Blackburn, Ipswich, Birmingham, QPR, Rotherham. I'd take a draw out of that or Rotherham win. Ideally, we could do a Rotherham win. Millwall have got Southampton away. They could get stuffed. Cardiff are away at Stoke. We've got Bristol City at home. Watford away to Huddersfield. Plymouth versus Middlesbrough. Swansea versus Sunderland. And it all depends what happens at Sunderland because they just let Beale go as well. And if you have a look at the next couple of games, Millwall, Watford, it's a derby. It's Rotherham Wednesday. Gonna have to get all 3 points there. It's another derby. Leeds versus Huddersfield. Let's have a look. Birmingham, Southampton. Who are QPR? Where QPR? QPR got Leicester. So on the weekend we got Rotherham. They got Leicester, and we could do with getting a win, them losing, and them losing, and go from there. So it's all stacking up to a thrilling end to the season. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. And granted, I know this was a long one, so thank you for watching.